you're videotaping the show. On you.
Hello everyone, so I took 2 melatonin and then I spontaneously decided to film this video. So you know when you're driving in the night and it starts raining and your brain goes to quite possibly the cringiest place it could go to. Your old memories, the ones that you want to forget about forever, but then they just, you know, randomly come back while you're trying to get home at night in the rain. So I thought I would air out my dirty laundry on the internet because, you know, why not? I hate being blind. So we'll start off with a fun one. One that won't make me like
physically hurt inside how awful it is.
Because enough time has passed that I think it's kind of funny. So when I was 6 or 7 years old, I have the clearest memory of in a library class. It was basically just like this class where the teacher would read to us a book. And I farted really loudly and I turned to the kid behind me. I was like,
ew, he farted.
And everyone laughed and I felt so guilty about it that I went up to the teacher after class in tears and she's like, Athena, what's wrong? And I just confessed that I farted to her and she couldn't give any less of a shit. What kid is dumb enough to just go up in tears and be like,
I lied, I'm the one who farted.
Like only 6-year-old me would do something that dumb. So I've told you guys that I was into this band called Midnight Red that really never took off, but I was obsessed with them. I was around 15 at the time, and my favorite member of the band was Colton Rudloff. Mind you, he was like 26, and I'm 15. He's almost a whole 10 years older than me. And people who were closer to his age, when they would get selfies, they'd be like, oh, can you kiss me on the cheek for this picture? And even then, that's kind of like cringy. But me being a 15-year-old and not knowing boundaries and that's like super inappropriate, I went to the meet and greet and I'm like, hey, can I have a picture of you kissing me on the cheek? And he's like, no. And that I remember just being like, oh shit, that was awful. But then like, instead of 15-year-old me putting 2 and 2 together, like age difference, creepy, instead I just went straight to entitled. I was like, why didn't he kiss me on the cheek? Ugh, which is like, all of these stories, at least in my teenage years, they're gonna have the same theme of entitlement because I was a little shit. This next story, I'm not even gonna tell you how old I was because I'm so embarrassed at how later in my life this was, but I was in high school and basically I was called back for a part over and over again. This was the show that we were doing, the fall play, not the musical, the play. Which I actually cared less about than the musical, but still felt strongly enough to do what I'm going to tell you, so. And then, instead of being given the lead that I was called back for, I was given not the second best thing, not the third best thing, probably like the 5th, 6th best thing. I was a character with like 3 lines. Better than a lot of parts that other people got, and still a great part in the show. Like, any part in the show is a great part, and I've learned that later in my life, but at this point in my life, I was pissed. The cast list was hung up by a, like, pin, one of those thumbtacks things, and there was one next to the board that wasn't being used, and I grabbed the one that wasn't being used and I started stabbing the cast list repeatedly. There was like a camera that was set up straight down that hallway, so I know that that teacher knew that that was me, and like knowing that, I want to go back, even though it's years later, and just apologize because holy shit, what an entitled little shit. Last story is kind of a common one, but I had a crush on a senior when I was a sophomore in high school, and I was just obsessed with him. Every little thing that he did was a sign that he liked me, even though we barely talked. We were just both in the theater group. Anyway, so I would change my routes to classes when I noticed that he would go down the same hallway every day. So instead of going to the hallway that was right next to the cafeteria, I took like the second farthest one just so I could loop around and see him. And how I said hi to my friends indicated whether or not he waved hi to me. So if he waved hi to me, I would like skip into the cafeteria and place my bag down. I would go, hello everyone. But if he didn't say hi to me, I wouldn't look at my friends. I'd just throw my bag down and run on the lunch line, which is just so dumb. Because I knew deep down in my heart that we were never going to date. I was too much of a little bitch to tell him how I felt. Everyone else knew. I'm sure eventually he knew. Actually, I know for a fact he knew because senior year of high school, I asked him to prom over Facebook Messenger and literally told him that sophomore year I was obsessed with him, to which he said yes, but then things came up and he couldn't. He's a really, really nice guy. I don't think he's watching this, but if you are, Anyway, I'm sorry that I was completely obsessed with you and like changed my roots to class. That's like so creepy. Oh my god. I hope you enjoy this little spontaneous video. I'm the worst person ever. That's the takeaway. That's the lesson. Goodbye.